Hello and welcome to another PoE video. I was asked to do Ruetoo's build and turn it into a Reave and Blade Flurry character. There's a lot of changes to the passive tree. Dropping this intelligence node means that instead of a 75 in amulet, you need now to get an 85 in amulet. So that's his POV. I didn't change a single thing about the gear. I just changed gems. I do not have in this socket. He had Smite in. Smite is not active. Uh, these skills do not give anything towards the like Smite benefits or whatever. So if you look into calcs, channel, and release, you can see there's like no lightning damage whatsoever. This is pure cold. So, in my opinion, his POV is very reliant on this 25% chance to inflict brittle. Like, if you have brittle on the enemy, you wouldn't need this node, and instead you can run the call. But even with Headsman, you then need to run instead of like endurance charge on melee stun, you then need to run increased critical strike chance to cap out your crit. So it's up to you how you want to build it in that regard, but I would personally recommend not being reliant on brittle, because you're just not going to have brittle day one, and instead do this pathing. So that's what I would do. Headsman is nice for leveling through the axe as precise technique, but like once you're ready to go into a crit setup, I would run Overwhelm instead of Headsman. So with the auras, you're going to notice that I do not have the other stance skill, and I do not have the Smite, and I'm instead running a Skitterbots. This should be labeled Weapon 2. No, it can't be labeled Weapon 2. He doesn't have enough fucking sockets. Boots. Or no, this is weapon. Yeah, this is Weapon 1. Sorry, this wasn't labeled as Weapon 2. That's what it was. So you can run the other. This config cannot be right. Yeah, it's got the brittle in it. 25% chance to inflict brittle. You're just not gonna have it up 100% of the time. You can run the other like stance skill instead of Herald of Ice. You just lose DPS. You can run Grace if you want. The reason why I think Grace is kind of bad in this POB is because Grace, while it does make your evasion go much higher, if you look at your calcs, this is called enemy mischance. This makes up your effective hit pool. It's at a 41% chance to miss, not connect, not hit you, anything like that. If we disable Grace, go to config, or you go to the calcs, you then drop down to a 35% chance, miss chance, and that is against the config of Guardians and Pinnacles. If you do no, which is like your general map clear, your mischance, it stays the fucking same. So it's not something of like, oh, the map mod or the maps, they're gonna be easier. No, it's just all content uses the same fucking accuracy calculation. If you enable like blind, for example, then things start to get a little bit different, because you spike up already by 3% without Grace, and then with Grace active, you go to 43% chance. So a little bit more compelling if you have blind in a build as well, and like effective blind, stuff like that. I kept the Passive points exactly the same. It's 114. All I did was lop off this. I lopped off the mana leech, and I picked up Clever Thief up here to compensate. So I don't know. If you want to play Ruetoo's build and turn it into a Reave Blade Flurry build, this is how I would do it. Your Reave single target, just while mapping, you're going to drop Endurance Charge on melee stun for multi-strike. And then disable this calc, and you're going to have over 10 mil DPS. It'll be a little bit higher just because you have like shattered and killed recently type stuff for to be applied to the enemy. But your general mapping, you're not going to require brittle in order to help boost your crit chance. Like, it's just not going to need it. Additionally, he had an effective chill allocated. If you use skitterbots, you do not need to put in effective chill. You are actually potentially damaging your POB. So if we go to non-damaging ailments here, chill effect, it literally tells you like what chill you are doing. Your current chill is 21% from summon skitterbots and 12% from frostblink, at least in my POB. When you drop bone chill and unbound in the calcs, the current chill goes to 12 from frostblink being the highest. So he had effective chill at 20%, which is invalid. It's not accurate. Just a minor mistake on his part because POB naturally calculates the effective chill. POB also naturally calculates the current shock from summoned skitterbots, so he did not have that allocated, which is a good thing. But if you link with Unbound and Bone Chill, that's where you can get the shock to go up, which will boost the damage without this build being lightning based at all. And his damage, when it comes to, like, let me just add in Smite. This is gonna fuck with like the total DPS, but I want you guys to be able to see this so that you can snuff out bullshit in POBs. Because for whatever reason, I tend to teach this to at least one person every single fucking league. This tells you your shock, current shock. Where's the effect? Yeah, this one. This tells you the pinnacle, in quotations around pinnacle. You would have a 13% shock applied. So I don't think his build is really doing that much damage to where it would ever shock above sorry, this should be on Reave. So the shock against pinnacles is 22% with like the Vol Smite and Smite stuff enabled. And this lightning damage is comparable to the amount of damage that he was dealing in a single hit. So his shock is actually probably going to be a little bit higher, but it's already calculating in the 25.95 shock from some skitterbots. So it's already like trying to calculate the shock beforehand if you have skitterbots enabled. So that's how it's coming up with this value of 22%. If you disable skitterbots, it's going to, one, nerf the build DPS, but it's also going to, because it does not affect the lightning damage scaling. It just affects the cold damage ceiling. So you can see that the shock now drops to 20% because the enemy is not shocked to begin with. So hope that clears up the shock value stuff. So I don't think his POB is like inflated. I think this is kind of inflation. I think the brittle is definitely a pain point. If you want to play a build like how he had set it up, I'm going to be completely honest. I don't think that Tempestuous Steel is really that great, but let's just, for the thought process, put in just like a T3 cold And then we are going to add the bench crafted, and we will do the lowest percent of elemental pen. Actually, we will do a 6% just so that this, we'll do an 11. Because most people would want at least this. So we're going to add that to the build. So if we put that in, the hit chance does tank. So his build is completely reliant on hits can't be evaded from Tempestuous Steel. So that's that pop experiment. So keep in mind that your hit chance is going to be non-existent until you get Tempestuous Steel, but this is a fairly common unique and nobody really uses it in the end game. Honestly, because of this, I may consider using swords in my tree as like a stepping stone point until I get a good weapon to replace it, because honestly the hits can't be evaded is kind of a nice quality of life. Up to you if you want to do this kind of weird stuff. Just keep in mind that I would disable the brittle, that way you're not like potentially damning your clear speed, because you already have to factor in like you're not going to have Assassin's Mark on every single like mob. Like if you can hit a rare and the rare loses like 90% of its life before you actually have to follow up, it makes like clearing with like Reave not really much of a big deal because Reave attacks faster. But if you are trying to clear with like Smite of Divine Judgment, you may have areas, because it has like the weird AoE thing, where you may have to like manually hit the enemy. I'm not entirely certain. I've never played this skill. It does have decent radius, and I'm sure with the like additional strikes, there's like a lot of overlapping hits. But in general, I don't know. I've never played Smite of Divine Judgment specifically. I don't know how much difference there is between the two different gems when it comes to that. But you may have scenarios where because you run increased critical strike chance and you run headsman, that you may not have Assassin's Mark up on some rares, or maybe it gets used on a different rare because sometimes you can fight two rares at once. So I don't know for certain how that's going to play out. And the other thing is that like Smite of Divine Judgment, it requires you to be good at positioning for bosses, and if you are not comfortable at positioning with bosses, the DPS, because his POB it was like 14 or 15 mil, it's going to tank dramatically if you aren't double hitting. So completely up to you what you want to do, but this is just my analysis of his POB and converting it to Reave and Blade Flurry for the extra spice. So I will leave a link to my altered POB of his POB, and you can look at it from there. Thanks. Have a good day. Bye.